And we turn to our series on the national conversation surrounding guns, violence, and mental health in the wake of the Connecticut shootings. Public officials and other critics have raised concerns about the role of media and culture, particularly violent video games.
Human species throughout history to modern culture unveils that our species have a deep connection with violence. Beyond the realm of real-life violence, we are drawn to violent movies and video games that have become a modern-day culture. Even though we do not fully understand violence on mainstream culture, it is important to understand the developments of human violence and its role within games. Many educators, philosophers, as well as parents and the general public blame the cultural influences of the media. Technological and cultural reactions tend to appear when it is tied with massacres and children killing.
Just stay away from me, okay?
Games have sprung into cultural mediums since the 70s with the release of Pong. As the need for games grew popular, so did the propulsion of game developers to experiment what their markets wanted to play, which included violent content. Death Race, the first game to receive negative feedback for violent content, gained a negative look on the public, causing it to be banned within communities. The media uproar actually increased the game's sales, and the market started to see people getting more interested in games, which contained violent content. When two competitors both released games containing violence, it saw the games with more gore and more aggression had sold more. Although violence isn't a new concept of human culture, it has been evident since the late beginning of humankind, as well as in animals. With mouths full of teeth, skin as armor, poison, and giant sizes, there were many biological advantages predators and non-predatorial animals have had for the need to survive. Early humans didn't. Living around 5 million years ago is one of the earliest known humans, commonly known as Lucy. Only until around 2 million years ago did any evidence of man-made weapons come to surface. Whether they were used for killing others is still uncertain. However, according to biologist David Carrier, violence could have aided us to survive. Aggressive behavior has evolved in species in which it increases an individual's survival or reproduction, and this depends on the specific environmental, social, reproductive, and historical circumstances of a species. Humans certainly rank among the most violent of species. So, are we living in a violent or a non-violent age? When asked about violent life of mankind 5 to 1,000 years ago, Harvard psychologist Stephen Pickler says, "Statistics aside, accounts of daily life in medieval and early modern Europe reveal a society soaked in blood and gore. Medieval knights, whom today we'll call warlords, fought their numerous private wars with a single strategy: kill as many of the opposing knights' peasants as possible. Religious instruction included prurient descriptions of how the saints of both sexes were tortured and mutilated in ingenious ways. Corpses broken on the wheel, hanging from gibbets, or rotting in iron cages, where the sinner had been left to die of exposure and starvation, were a common part of the landscape. For entertainment, one would nail a cat to a post and try to headbutt it to death, or watch a political prisoner get drawn and quartered, which is to say partially strangled, disemboweled, and castrated before being decapitated. So many people had their noses cut off in private disputes that medical textbooks had procedures that were alleged to grow them back. Early games such as Wolfenstein had caused a revolution in the realism of shock in the game, by having enemies bleeding out on the floor after you have killed them. Doom, including more violence, blood, gore, horror, and shock, allowed players to kill and be killed. As games began to become a popular playable activity with the public, so did the research of the effects of video games, and its effects on human psyche, such as the infamous Columbine Massacre, where 2 teenagers killed 13 and injured 24 in a massacre shooting and ultimately committed suicide, having the public blame the tragedy on the effects of gaming, music, and television.
You think we don't know what you're talking about when you say, "Take my hand"?
What do you mean? It's about holding hands.
You watch your mouth. You know who's got hands? The devil. And he uses them for holding.
Although complete abandonment of social factors towards the boys shouldn't be ignored. So, has Doom or other games caused people to commit mass murders or aggression towards others? Invalid comparisons between game genres have become problematic, with research lacking evidence tying gameplay violence to violent behavior. During a study of noise blasting opposing players for either winning or losing, mind you, it was irrelevant in the end, a 0.24 second difference was recorded. To insist that a 0.24 on noise blasting is the same as mass massacre is incoherent, and leaves out more research to study causing effects of school shootings and youth violence. Why do people play games, especially those that are violent? Putting aside preconception of gamers, more individual research needs to be put into this to examine violent game players on their own terms. So, how on earth do we stop children playing such violent games such as Grand Theft Auto? Well, something that parents complain about when their children are playing violent games is that they're playing it in the first place, blaming it on the gaming companies and the blaming culture. Psychologists understand that below the ages of 7, seeing is believing for children. That's why they invented these magical letters on every game. These are here to inform parents whether the game is suited for their child or not. So out of all of this, what do I think? As a gamer myself, do I find that the games I play are violent? Yes, they are. However, do they make me violent? No. Even at a young age, I have played Vice City. But have I had any traumatic experiences of shooting people on the beach and going to the strip clubs? No. I didn't see the games teaching me how I should be in society, rather how not to be. And education to young minds about real-world laws can also help children understand what is right and what is wrong. Video games have been known to induce gamer rage.
What can I do? I can't do anything. Look, this is a flawed game. Look, wow, mate. Wow, you're serious. You're serious. You know what? Screw this game. Stupid.
I would fucking love to do in this monitor.
However, I find that this comes from a competitive nature rather than the violent setting of the video game itself.
You're a little jerk.
Okay.